is ATL Day Ones, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta. And it starts now.
It is ATL Day Ones with Jarvis and Tenitra. We want to just say thank you for making ATL Day Ones your first listen of the day. And remember, we are free and available wherever you download your podcast and wherever you download your podcast. Make sure you give us a 5-star review. Yes, I said 5-star review. Anything less is unacceptable. Appreciate you for that in advance. And if you have not liked or subscribed to our YouTube page, that is Locked On Sports Atlanta, what in the world are you waiting on? We know we've been waiting on the Atlanta Braves. They are in first place. We will definitely get into that. And T, the Falcons have released their depth chart, but did Drew Dalman earn that spot? We'll talk about that. And last but not least, and for the culture, I think that Dejounte Murray is getting off to a really good start, even though we haven't started playing games yet. We'll talk about all that, but T, the Braves get the win last night against the Oakland Athletics. It looked a little shaky because Kyle Wright, was all over the place.
Yes.
The control wasn't there. He hitting batters, and he just looked like he was just really off. But thankfully, the Braves bats and Marcell Ozuna was giving a little production last night. I think I don't. Of course, you like to see Kyle Wright get that 18th win, but T, I think one of the things that you like about the idea of team is that when your teammates is having an off night, they're right there to pick you right up.
Yeah, I mean, Kyle Wright was struggling, Braves bats were slugging. So it all kind of balanced itself out, and literally you got a contribution from just about everybody that has been the cog in the wheel, really from June 1st for this entire run. And you mentioned Marcell Ozuna as well. Then this little stretch where he seems to be playing again. He's gone 6 for 12. We're talking a home run, 3 RBI. I mean, not a bad stretch for him, especially if he is trying to make his case for the postseason roster. Now is the time to make that case for that roster. But also, you made a point about Wright. Everybody has an off night. It's just like Snit said. Kyle Wright had an off night last night. It happens. We don't expect anything less than a bounce back. But I really, really like what I saw out of the bullpen, who said, you know what? We got you. We got you. Right. So Raciel Iglesias, AJ Minter, Kenley Jansen, for him to come back and get a 1-2-3 ninth after the meltdowns that we've seen of recent. It just reminded you there's a reason that he has 32 saves, and that's a league best this season. So yes, you love to see an all-around game. Meanwhile, looking at what the Mets are doing, polar opposite. Braves 6 wins in a row, Mets 3 losses in a row. And like you said, that brings us to a tie atop the NL East.
Yes, I'm absolutely loving it. And we'll get into a little petty in regards to the Mets a little bit later on in the show. But first, T, tell the folks about what's going on at Built Bar. What do they got going on for the good listeners and viewers for Locked On Sports Atlanta?
Yeah, so listen, guys, I got to put my specs on for this one because there's so much information that we want to share with you guys, just stuff that is chock full of goodness when it comes to BuiltBar.com. So they are back at it again. They've got a new flavor for you, and you got to love it, Jarvis, because literally Built brings a new flavor, it seems like, every other week. And once again, they've done it. So Built Bar is now talking cookie dough chunk puffs. And who didn't like cookie dough when you were growing up, right? So that's a light flavor, a chewy texture, real dough chunks, by the way, and 100% real chocolate. So you gotta love that. And hey, it's good to you and it's good for you. Yes, it's tasty, but you can't beat the fact that it's got 15 grams of protein, only 160 calories, and those grams of protein in particular, that protein is actually the kind that will absorb very easily. It's called collagen protein. So when you think about protein, is very important. Protein sometimes is tough to break down. This protein is not. So that means it's going to go through your body and give you all of the nourishment you need. So whether that's coming out of the gym, fresh off a workout, and you need a snack, or you just need to pick me up throughout the day, or God forbid, I know I just had some traffic challenges going from point A to point B. You might need a snack in traffic. This is the snack for you. So where can you find it? built.com. And so it's really easy. You can order a box of cookie dough chunk puffs. Go ahead and order the new right now. You use promo code LOCKED15 and you'll get 15% off that order. Again, that's built.com using the promo code locked on to get the 15% off. And of course, your body will thank you.
No doubt about it. You have to thank your body from time to time, and they're gonna thank you if you put the right stuff in there. Now, speaking of the right stuff, Josef Martinez hasn't been the right stuff as of late, and I think that Josef Martinez has really not become the face that he once was for this organization, that is Atlanta United. And I think that there were some instances about what was going on with Martinez, even before Darren Eels left. And I think that's one of the things that you have to really keep an eye on. Now it's come to a head, and he's been suspended for conduct detriment to the team. I don't know about you, but I'm not really surprised by this coming out right now, because obviously there's a lot of frustration going on within this organization.
Exactly. And you kind of had these hints here and there that something wasn't quite right. The Gonzalo Pineda and Josef Martinez just were not on the right page, right? But you're thinking to yourself, the injury to the knee, having to get the knee scoped again, and that's setting back during the season, and all of the things that go through your head. And then, of course, there was so much controversy around him not getting starts. Match after match after match, he's coming in the second half and still providing something, but not providing like you're used to the King seeing. And now the altercation last Sunday, Felipe Cardenas of the Athletic reported that was we'll call it an incident, because an altercation sounds like physical, but it was a verbal incident, if you will, a back and forth between them that ended up in Josef knocking over the food table, so we're told. So it's like, okay, knocking over tables and whatnot. But again, that frustration kind of builds. And my question is, at this point, and it's something that people have been low-key talking about, at the end of this year, you're looking at a team that has gone through 4 managers since Tata Martino parted ways with him a couple of years ago. And every time the organization has chosen the player over the coach. In every instance, it's been the right thing to do. I'm not sure it's the right thing to do this go round, because Gonzalo Pineda has something special in his ability to see things, being a former MLS player himself. Josef Martinez, as we all hate to admit it, but it seems like he might be on the downside of his career. So we're going to be watching this to see if this is kind of sort of showing us the beginning of the end with Josef Martinez, because listen, United has more than enough challenges these days. They've got to deal with the Miles Robinson issue for starters. And they've got injuries on top of injuries. This is a setback that I think is going to have some long-term implications.
Long-term implications, meaning that it's time to tear it all down and start all over. Because, like you said, Josef Martinez hasn't been himself off the field and on the field as well. So we'll definitely monitor that as the Atlanta United try to figure this bad boy out. Now, speaking of a team that doesn't have to figure it out, we know exactly what's going on. The Georgia Bulldogs, the poll comes out, top 25, and as you know, that a lot of people listen to this show, and it seems like the Associated Press listens to this show as well, because they moved Georgia into the number 2 spot on the top 25, leapfrogging the Ohio State Buckeyes. They kind of struggle a little bit with Notre Dame, but the Georgia Bulldogs did exactly what they were supposed to do, and they kicked the crap out of a lesser opponent, and they just so happened to be ranked 11th in the nation.
Indeed, exactly. And that is a great point. They so happen to be 11th, because if you were really that good, how do you drop all the way out of the AP poll in week 1? Yes, you got a drubbing, but again, you dropped 14 spots out of the poll. And we talked about this yesterday. The question was, okay, Georgia plays 11, the number 11 team, like it's 3 to 11, if you will. And then you got Ohio State, I think it was 2 to 6. If you will. And so we were wondering, okay, that was a struggle for Ohio State, but Notre Dame was higher ranked in sort of that early college football playoff conversation. Would Georgia's performance be enough to leapfrog Ohio State? And it did. And with the voting coming back, with Alabama not getting all 61 votes, Georgia actually got 17 first place votes. There's some commentary and some conversation that I think Dog Nation should be encouraged about the fact that, yeah, even though the Crimson Tide had a shutout win, it was over a non-ranked opponent, and people are still looking at Georgia like, yeah, you're a viable number one too.
Yeah, they look real because I think last year when you looked at that team, you understood that the defense was elite, and a lot of times voters don't really cater to that, right? Like if your
Right.
offense is cooking, and I think that's something that for the Georgia Bulldogs and Todd Monken to put that
Mm-hmm.
the way they put that offense was on display against the
Yes.
Oregon Ducks. I think that is something that gets voters' attention, and
Mm-hmm.
I believe, like you said, that 17 first place votes, I think they more than have their attention as we continue to move forward through the season. Now, the
Yes.
Atlanta Falcons are getting ready to move
Mm.
forward into their
All
first
right,
game of the
Falcons.
season. They released their depth chart yesterday, and Drew Dalman is the starting center. And y'all know how I feel about that.
Mhm.
Now, I've let my thoughts convey. We're going to talk about whether or not we feel like Drew Dalman earned that bad boy or not. That's next, right here on ATL Day Ones with Jarvis and T, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta. Don't.
Welcome back to ATL Day Ones, everybody. I am Tenitra. That is Jarvis. And we are so glad you guys are coming back to talk to us because guess what? This is going into a game week for the Falcons. So, just like always, we bring you guys amazing content. And how do we know? Because you keep giving us 5-star reviews. So, whenever you rock with us, we appreciate that and continue to tell everybody else to just download us wherever you download your podcast. And also keep checking us out on YouTube. You guys leave some really cool comments there as well, and we appreciate that. And you're getting us ever so close as Locked On Sports Atlanta to 4,000 subscribers. So keep hitting the like button and keep subscribing because guess what? Every day, all day, in addition to talking Braves, UGA, some United, and maybe some Hawks too. We'll do that in fourth culture. But we are going to just drop all kinds of Falcon nuggets in your lap. So today we're talking about the depth chart that dropped yesterday. And I got to start where Jarvis had started a couple weeks ago because it's like fast forwarding to his insight after what we saw both the training camp and in those first couple preseason games. But I wanted to call it out, Jarvis, because you mentioned it first, where we're kind of holding our breath to see, okay, who's going to make the depth chart? What is the order going to look like? But all eyes were really on that final space along that O line, which was
Mhm.
center. Was it going to be Drew Dalman? Was it going to be Matt Hennessy? We see that it's Drew Dalman who's in that starting position at center. What are your thoughts?
I'll continue to say, how I felt, when I declared that Matt Hennessy had won the position right on this show. I think that Matt Hennessy probably showed a little bit better than Drew Dalman because I saw some things in his game that I saw from last year, and I thought that there wasn't really any progression there.
Mm-hmm.
So I think from the Falcons standpoint, I think from an evaluation standpoint, I think that I'm not too surprised that they ended up going with Dalman because when you think about it, Matt Hennessy is from the previous regime,
Sure.
and he's a guy that they feel strongly about. You feel
Mm-hmm.
strongly about a player until you don't feel strongly about him. So, hey, if this guy couldn't beat out a guy like Matt Hennessy, that would be a very bad look on this regime.
Yeah.
From because we know how sensitive we get, from the media standpoint and from fans as well
Right.
about offensive lineman evaluation. And
Yes.
they
Yes.
haven't. This organization hasn't done a good job of that in the past
Yeah.
15 years. So I
Yeah.
think that for them to kind of be out on a guy and Matt Hennessy,
Mm-hmm.
take the starting reins, it wouldn't have been a good look. So I think that they went with the guy that they drafted. They saying, okay, if it's even, if it was I feel like they felt like that the competition was even, and if
Yes.
it's even, we're gonna go with our guy,
Give it to your
and,
guy.
and yeah,
Yes.
give it to your
Yes.
guy, and let's see what happens. And I think that ultimately, that's what ended up happening in this particular competition.
I would have to agree because if you look at the last official depth chart of the preseason, they were listed as co-ones.
Right,
So
exactly.
I
Yeah,
believe that you called it correctly in that,
they
hey, if we're going
allegedly
to have
hadn't made a decision
co-ones,
yet.
exactly. If we're going to have co-ones, then we're going to give it to our guy and let him battle to keep that spot throughout the rest of the season. Now, I think there are, of course, a couple of other spaces that we'll talk about on offense. I think we would agree from a defensive perspective there really weren't any shocks in terms of what that depth chart looked like. And at the end of the day, we also know that some of those players and how Dean Pease uses them will depend on the packages that he puts out there. So I think on defense, we really didn't have any shockers, but there are a couple more on offense that we thought, interesting. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But Jarvis, let's tell them about Coffee AM first, because as excited as we are about this Falcons depth chart, the reason that we keep the energy level sometimes the same energy all day is because of Coffee AM.
coffeeam.com/locked on. That is the website that you need to go to. Now I'm about to tell you why. It's because I get my day started each and every day with a nice brew coffee AM, and I absolutely love it because I start off with the Kenya K cups. That was one thing that I started off when we started this thing with Coffee AM, and they have just been absolutely amazing. Like I'm talking about tea. You go on it takes you on a trip. It takes you all the way to Africa and say, you know what? I want to go to Africa today. Let's go to Kenya. Let's see what's going on. You pop that box open and you're like, whoo, it's just something that might make your head blow off. It is absolutely amazing because, guys, this is the best small batch coffee roaster in the entire country. And they have all type of coffee, teas, and gift sets. You know, if you're not really rocking with the coffee, you can get some teas, And if you don't rock with the coffee or the tea, go and get a nice gift set for the person that you know. I know you know somebody that likes coffee and tea or tea in your family. So don't act like that. Now that I told you why you need to go there, here's some incentive to go there even more. When you go to coffeeam.com/locked on, drop in the coupon code box locked on, and you're going to get 15% off of all those coffee, teas, and gift sets that I just told you about. So, yeah, and that's off of your first purchase. Now, you don't try to use it every time you go there, but this is off your first purchase. Drop in the coupon code box locked on, and you're going to get 15% off. Go ahead and pull up on the best small batch coffee roaster in the entire country.
Yeah, and you probably are going to need it, let's say Monday morning, because I am sure that you are going to be out all day and all night Sunday, because it is game one of the regular season for the Falcons. And who knows, it's a rivalry weekend. So therefore you might be out the entire weekend and may need coffee to perk you up just to get to the game on Sunday. But one of the things that made us perk up, one of the things that we were excited about was just seeing Drake London actually listed as wide receiver 1, because we wondered, hey, he hasn't practiced in a long time, got back to practice this week along with Bryan Edwards, and there he is as number 1 on the depth chart, along, of course, with Bryan Edwards on the other side. So with that in mind, you kind of think about it like, did that encourage you when you saw Drake's name on the list to say that that was an add of depth in terms of the passing game, or not so much because maybe you're thinking, for lack of a better term, he'll have a pitch count on how much he plays?
I definitely think it's the latter. Now, but I'm still encouraged though to see that he's healthy enough for them to, or they're comfortable enough putting him at wide receiver 1, because you don't do that if you don't feel like he's healthy and you're going to proceed with caution. And I think that so it's a little bit of combination of both. If I can do that, so I think one of the things that you also you're going to look for is that how they're going to use them, right? If you're going to be on a pitch count, then what type of formations you're going to use them in? Is he going to be split out wide with Kyle Pitts? Those are some of the things that I'm excited to see, because I just really, like I said, I've said it on this show before, and I will continue to say it. I believe Arthur Smith is a really, really good play caller. He's a guy that puts his players in positions to make plays, and it's really up to them as to whether or not they're going to do that. Kind of reminds me of another guy, Kyle Shanahan. Jake Matthews was actually talking about that, how things were eerily similar to when they, the year, obviously we know Kyle Shanahan, it was a struggle that first year, and then that second year is when 2016, when they went on that Super Bowl run. So I think that if you're hearing it from a guy who was out there actually on the field, I think that that's something that you have to pay attention to, because I believe that Arthur Smith has that. He was a rookie head coach last year. You talk about the sophomore league for players. I think we're going to see a sophomore league for Arthur Smith as well.
Indeed. And I think, too, that when you look across, I feel like he has more, and I'm going to call them toys for lack of a better term, but he has a few more toys to play with and tinker around with this year. And one of the areas where I believe he has more depth and just more to work with, which will actually give us a versatile offensive game plan, because you can, is because you do have a better running back room than you had a
Yes.
year ago. And of course, it's going to be led and anchored by Cordero Patterson, although we know he's going to be more of a hybrid player. But I believe to have a Damian Williams, who of course is second on the depth chart, to have a Tyler Algier in that room as well, and even to have someone like Avery Williams, who might be fourth down the depth chart, but at least you know he's reliable and at least you know he's the system. I really like what I see in terms of what Arthur Smith and Dave Ragone will be able to do in the run game. We also saw some highlights of it, if you will. And we know on the sneaky tip, Caleb Huntley is still on that practice squad. So you never quite know what that might mean. But I do like the way that the running back room is shaping up. And I feel like CP, Damian Williams, Algier, that's where we start. But what are your thoughts, especially in terms of, is that where that room ends up in terms of pecking order?
I don't think so. I believe that Algier is going to work his way into that splitting time with Cordero Patterson. I wholeheartedly believe that, because when you talk about a guy being versatile, right? Like, versatility is how you get on the field.
Mm-hmm.
And for him to be in his rookie year, to be able to pass block like I believe he can.
Yes.
I think that's the way how you earn your way on the field. Because
Mm-hmm.
when you think about it, when have you the last time you seen Cordero Patterson sitting up here in the back protecting? And you didn't see that
Right.
that much.
Right.
People like to try me. Go ahead and try me on that. Go ahead and go back and watch the film if
Mm-hmm.
you doubt your boy. Because he wasn't in a lot of those situations. And then
Right.
Damian Williams, not necessarily really didn't see him do that too much in the preseason.
Right.
But I think that Algier is a guy that can get his way on the field from a pass protection standpoint and being able to catch the ball out of the backfield. And we know what that tote game hitting on. So I think that right now he's third, but I think eventually he bumps up to at least that second spot and splitting time with Cordero Patterson when he's not.
Agreed. And just depending on how things play out in that wide receiver room, there may be times where he really shows, especially with Toten Rock, he shows that he's going to be the number one option in the backfield. So when we come back, speaking of number one, we go trolling folks sometimes, we get petty sometimes. And when you're number one and you're back on top of the mountain, you get to be petty too. We'll talk about it in For the Culture.
Final segment of ATL Day One with Jarvis and Tenitra. We want to say thank you for making ATL Day Ones your first listen of the day. And remember, we're free and available wherever you download your podcast and wherever you download your favorite podcast, because we know you're your absolute favorite. Make sure you leave us a 5-star review so people can make our podcast their favorite as well. Why are you gonna hold on to greatness? Don't hold on to greatness. Share that bad boy, because that's how it is. That's what it's going to be. Now, T, this is For the Culture. It is the intersection between sports, entertainment, and the culture. And sometimes we want to talk about that's because just how we get down on this show. Today is no different, because I think that as we go through our preparation for this show, Tenitra sends me some stuff, and I start going through it and kind of checking things out. This one particular video really, really stood out to me, and it's kind of very interesting, right? So it was Max Scherzer.
My laughter.
Max Scherzer was talking about some ailments, and for those you don't know, he's been moved to IL for a little bit.
Yeah, and I'm not laughing at that.
Not laughing at that.
Not that part.
We're gonna get to the funny part. So I think that when we started talking about his ailments, and how he was feeling, he was talking about how achy he was, and he just wasn't feeling right. He was gonna miss one start.
Yes.
But we know how Mets fans are really, really annoying. They're up there with the New York Knicks. Funny how there's two teams from New York are very annoying, and they have the same colors. But I think that when you got a guy like Ian Rappaport who tweets out, "Please let the Mets, or let's go Mets, please," begging for a win against the Pittsburgh Pirates team. Like, where are we? This was a team that was up 10.5 games on June 1st. And now we're sitting here with the Braves tied at the top of the division. Oh, my God, T, I don't know which part I'm loving the most. The meltdown of the actual Mets or
Right.
the meltdown of the fans. And I think I'm leaning towards the fans right now.
Oh, can we get co-MVPs?
Yes, yes. Just like we have co-rookie MVPs
Exactly.
on the Brave
On the
squad. Yes,
Braves
I
team?
said
Yeah.
we, the city of Atlanta. Yeah, that's how we roll down here. We roll
Exactly.
deep on y'all folks.
Yeah, so I'm giving them co-MVPs because really, okay, so when I look at the Mets fan base, right, they get the MVP because you know what? You really should have piped down. You've been
Yeah.
piping up since May, and we
All this
told
trash,
you
man.
don't pipe up like that because the Braves are the world champions. The
Hmm.
Braves are the ones who won the division 4 years running. And the Braves are the ones who really have been ruling this division for the last couple decades. So until you do something that you haven't done since 1986, then
Ooh.
you really got to be quiet. You really do. But I also will say that I'll give a co MVP to the Mets because, there's a new song out that is on the top of the charts by my girl Beyonce.
Mm.
And, she says, "You can't break my soul." Well, I think that the Braves have broken the souls
You can't
of the
break
Mets.
my
Think about it.
soul.
Think about it. Think about Taiwan Walker and how he was rolling before
He's
he
been
came
terrible since the All
through
Star break.
the dirty. He rolled up in Truist Park, and I'm telling you, that dude has a twitch now. Telling you broke his soul. And I do believe that the Braves are out here trying to break souls in these next 30 games. So,
Oh
yesterday we
man.
talked about the fact that, hey, look, the Braves really are the better team, if you will. But
Hmm.
in addition to that, the Braves are trending up. Everything is starting to come together. The bullpen is starting to find itself again. We're seeing solid pitching. Forget what we saw with Kyle Wright. I'm talking about across the space, right? We're seeing
Yes.
the bats pick up when the bullpen can't get it done, when the pitching rotation can't get done, the bats are getting it done. And maybe most importantly, Jarvis, everybody is getting healthy at the right time for the Braves, not so much for the Mets. So I think some souls are being broken in Queens. In that borough, I think they're breaking.
Yeah, no doubt. That broke in my eyes. Sorry. Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, I'm being petty because I'm tired of y'all folks flooding our comments and talking about let's go Mets and all this good stuff. Yeah, where y'all at now? Like y'all done disappeared on your folk. You're like, y'all, we're loving this good content. You guys are just so admirable. No, we ain't admirable no more, huh? Yeah, get your life together. Get your life together. We know one player in the city of Atlanta that actually plays for the Atlanta Hawks, Dejounte Murray. He got his life together. T, I
Yes.
got so excited when I saw this bad boy. Now, you know how the players always posting stuff on IG, and I'm not saying that because I have an issue with it. I love how the guys like to share their lives. You know what's
Right.
going on with them.
It's cool.
Now, Dejounte Murray was in the gym somewhere, right? It looks like it was very dark. And then all I saw, next thing you know, he popped up on the screen and said, "Well, like, man, I really love Atlanta. I really I love this city." And then it flipped to another screen and said, "I didn't come to Atlanta to party. I came here to win." Man, it just made me I don't know about you, T, but I'm super excited about fall basketball.
Yes.
Yeah, I so can't wait to see what this team looks like once these guys get on the court together with me,
Yes.
specifically
There's
Trey Young and Dejounte Murray.
exactly. There seems to be such a commitment, right? And
Right.
sometimes, Jarvis, as our parents would say, sometimes they had to step back, right? And just let us fall on our faces to really learn the lesson. And
Right.
unfortunately, it was tough for the Hawks fan base to see the Hawks kind of fall on their face for the better part of last season until they got it together. And unfortunately, it was a little too late because then they had to dig themselves out of that play-in tournament and then kind of ran into that bulldozer called the Miami Heat. This
Yes.
year, however, I believe two things. Number one, that they learned the lesson. And number two, they understand the assignment this year. And when you have those things coming together and you have a willingness and a commitment to buy into the game plan of whatever Nate McMillan is cooking up, and then Travis Schlink and Landry Fields went out and got you a guy, and then even got you some guys along the way who are, I believe, are going to be serviceable enough. I do believe that this team is slowly but surely reminding you, just like you said, with little pieces like, I didn't come to play with you today. I came to slay. I'm here on assignment. I'm not here to play. Not that he's not going to have fun with his new city. Not saying because, hey, San Antonio versus Atlanta, I mean, get real. But he
No
is not,
comparison.
he did not come here to play with anybody. And I love it. And I feel like there's just this fire, this commitment, this energy. And man, like you said, as excited as we are, and we are excited to see what this new look Falcons team is going to do come Sunday and for the rest of the season. We're excited to see what the Braves are going to do and whether or not they're going to contend and go deep in this postseason and try to put themselves in position for being two-time champions. But I don't know if we are as excited and maybe as intrigued as we've ever been about the Hawks like we are right now.
Yeah, I don't see a time. Even when like leading up to the 60-win season or coming off that 60-win season, I
Yes.
don't feel like if you look up and down that roster, like the NBA 2K ratings just came out, right? I know it's a
Hmm.
video game, but follow with me, T. You just looking up and down that starting lineup. It's just like you got Trey Young, you got Dejounte Murray, you got DeAndre Hunter, you got John Collins, you got Clint Capella. It's like that's a pretty doggone good starting lineup right
It
there.
is.
And you still got Bogdan Bogdanovich, excuse
Yes.
me, coming off the bench. And so you have your sniper. You have that six man who can come off and just go get buckets for you. So the way this thing is stacking up, then you got the Holiday brothers. It's going to be holiday
Hmm.
season because both of those guys like to play defense. So I think that all of
Yes.
those components of that, the makeup of this roster, I really do like it as far as being a contender in the Eastern Conference. So,
Yes.
like you said, it's going to be Christmas here pretty soon as they get ready to go to Abu Dhabi
Abu
at some
Dhabi.
point. Yeah,
Yes.
and go do their thing out there. So, hey, they're going to be on display, and I'm sure we'll see plenty of videos of Trey Young and Dejounte Murray
Mhm.
throwing alley-oops to John Collins. So, I can't wait.
Indeed. And we are so excited to see, just what that team will evolve into, even players, like you said. How about you literally called so many names and we didn't even get to CC and Double O. That's how deep this
Wow.
team is. Yeah, there
There you
you
go.
go. That's how deep
Mm-hmm.
it is. So when you think about all of those pieces and starting to see them mold and meld together and also see some of those younger players growing in their third or fourth or fifth years, it's some exciting stuff that's going to be going down at State Farm Arena. But also, we expect some exciting things to go on as the Braves are going to have an afternoon game, sort of that matinee game, to hopefully get this sweep of the A's. We'll talk about it. We'll download it with you guys tomorrow. And of course, any updates that we get, whether it's on that Josef Martinez situation or any little nuggets we get from Flowery Branch to get us all the way to Sunday, certainly we'll get you that information and anything going down on this sports scene in Atlanta. You can find out about it right here on ATL Day Ones. And after you check us out to find out, go check out our guy Hitting Hard with John Chuckery to give you the download and the scoop as well. So listen, looks like it's a beautiful day in the A. Be safe. And you know what? Don't be like the Mets. Don't let anybody break your soul. See ya.
Y'all come back now, you hear? Not the Mets fans.